Tell me something very sincere. Have you ever felt tired of loving too much and receiving almost nothing in return, as if you were giving your all, but the other person remained distant, cold, as if you were invisible? I want to tell you a true story about a man named Benjamin. He spent years trying hard, caring, loving with everything he had, but deep down he felt an overwhelming loneliness, that pain that eats away at your chest, that makes you wonder if it's still worth it to keep trying. And you know what's worse? This feeling can grow so silently that if you don't pay attention, it can end up destroying everything. Your marriage, your self-esteem, even your health. Have you ever thought about what it would be like to lose what matters most, just because love became a burden and not a strength? I know how hard it is to admit this, but here I want you to know that you are not alone, and that there is a way to turn this around. Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you the solution to get out of this trap of loving too much and receiving little before it's too late. Before continuing, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any important content that can transform your life and your relationships. First, who is Benjamin? You know the kind of man who gives his all for his family, who wakes up early, works hard, endures pressure in silence, and still tries to smile when he gets home. That's Benjamin, a 58-year-old man who always put others before himself. A present husband, devoted father, loyal friend. He never complained about life. He always said, "As long as I have health and strength, I will keep going." But inside, he carried a tiredness that didn't come from his body. It came from his heart. For years, Benjamin thought he was doing everything right. He called, sent messages, worried, remembered dates. All of this because he truly loved. But he didn't realize, or pretended not to realize, that the effort was all his. The attention, the care, the affection only came from one direction, his. And look, it was slowly starting to hurt, like a constant leak in the roof at night. It's not a loud noise, but at some point you can't sleep anymore. Benjamin didn't know it yet, but he was experiencing what many men experience and don't tell anyone about: loving alone. Signs of imbalance. As time went by, Benjamin began to notice some small things. Small, but they were messing with him inside. You know those little things that you try to ignore at first, but that, when they come together, become a huge burden? It was like that. He would send a loving message and only get an okay. He would ask if everything was okay, and she would answer, "It's normal." But the tone wasn't one of "everything's fine." It was one of distance, coldness. When he came home from work, tired, wanting a little attention, a hug, she was more concerned with her cell phone, social media, or anything else, less with him. And the worst part, when he tried to start a conversation, talk about the relationship, open his heart, she said he was exaggerating, being too sensitive. Benjamin, a man who had always been firm, strong, silent about his pain, he was feeling invisible inside his own home. And that's when the most dangerous trigger of all comes in: guilt, because he started to think, am I the problem? Am I demanding too much? Am I being weak? No, Benjamin, you're not demanding too much because you want to be loved in the same way. You're just waking up to a difficult but necessary truth. There is no relationship where only one person loves, only one person tries, only one person cares. And the saddest part is that many men like Benjamin spend years like this, deceiving themselves, trying to believe that things will change, that it's just a phase, that it will get better. But deep down, they already know. They are loving alone. And that's tiring. But it's a different kind of tiredness. It's the kind that not even sleep can cure. It's the tiredness of giving everything and never feeling like you're enough. Third, the pain of loving alone. Benjamin began to feel a different kind of pain. It wasn't a pain in his body. It was a pain that came when he looked around and realized he was married. But he felt alone. Yes, alone. And that, my friend, is one of the worst feelings a man can have. Being by someone's side, sleeping in the same bed, sitting at the same table, but feeling like a stranger in his own home. He tried to talk. She had no patience. He tried to make a gesture of affection. She avoided him. He tried to plan a trip, a moment for the two of them. But she always had a but. Over time, Benjamin became quiet. He didn't want to fight or force anything, so he kept everything to himself. He kept sadness. He kept frustration. He kept tears that never fell down his face, but weighed heavily on his heart. And then came the worst part: self-doubt. Benjamin began to think that maybe the problem was him, that maybe he was too old, too uninteresting, that maybe he was no longer worthy of love. Look at the danger of this. When a man begins to doubt his own worth because of the coldness of the person around him, he falls into a dark hole. He smiles on the outside and fades away on the inside. He lives out of obligation, no longer for pleasure. And the worst part, few people notice, because he is the kind of man who never complains, who puts up with everything in silence, but no one sees his heart screaming inside. I just want to be loved too. Benjamin wasn't asking for luxury, gifts, or expensive dinners. He just wanted reciprocity, a little of what he had always given. He wanted to be seen, to be heard, to be desired, like in the beginning. But all he received was silence, indifference, distance. And that's when the pain of loving alone becomes more dangerous. It doesn't scream, it slowly kills you. Fourth, Benjamin's awakening. Everything changed on an ordinary night. Benjamin arrived home after another tiring day. As always, he tried to make conversation. He wanted to tell her something about work, about the street, even about a silly memory from his youth. But she answered in that old hurried tone, "Not now, Benjamin, I'm busy." The silence that followed was different from the others. This time it hurt him more deeply. It seemed like something inside him had broken for good. He went to the mirror in his room. He looked at himself. He really looked. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't recognize himself. Where was that man full of life? The one who laughed out loud, who dreamed, who believed that love was something that healed, not hurt. What he saw now was a tired man, but not a physical tiredness. It was a tiredness of the soul. And in that silence in front of the mirror, Benjamin said softly, as if he were confessing a truth that he had avoided for years, "I deserve to be loved too." It was there in that simple and solitary moment that everything changed. It wasn't a scream nor a fight, it was an agreement he made with himself, a pact of self-respect. Benjamin understood that the problem was never that he loved too much. The problem was continuing where there was no return, no desire to improve. He didn't want to break up in a hurry nor become a bitter man, but he decided something important. If it's going to continue, let it be with truth. Let it be with exchange, with respect, with presence. If not, he preferred the silence of peace to the noise of a soulless relationship. This decision was not easy. Men like Benjamin have the habit of enduring, waiting, resisting. But there comes a time when even the strongest get tired. And this tiredness was the key that opened his eyes. From that moment on, Benjamin did not become another man. He simply became himself again. What we learned from him, Benjamin's story, may seem common, but it carries a profound message. A message that many men need to hear, especially after 50. Do you know why? Because this is the phase of life when we begin to see more clearly who was really by our side and who just got used to our presence. Benjamin teaches us that it is not weakness to desire affection. It is not an exaggeration to want to be valued. And it is definitely not selfish to decide to stop giving of yourself when there is no return. How many men today are living on autopilot, sleeping next to someone but feeling alone inside, pretending that everything is fine, when their heart is crying out for help? The truth is simple, but many are afraid to face it. Love without exchange becomes wear and tear. Love without care becomes loneliness, and love without presence becomes absence. Benjamin reminds us that there is still time. There is time to talk, sincerely to take a stand, to make it clear, I'm still here but not out of obligation. If I'm going to be together, let it be for real. This story is also a warning, because a man who spends his whole life putting everyone else first ends up being last in his own story. But you don't have to follow this script. You can and should choose respect, balance, and mutual love. Even if you've been together with the same person for 30 or 40 years, if there is no more affection, attention, conversation, or interest, something needs to be reconsidered. And if you love but feel like you're loving alone, maybe it's time to do as Benjamin did. Stop, look in the mirror, and decide, I deserve more. My friend, if at any point in this story you thought, that's me, then listen to what I'm going to tell you now. You are not alone. There are many men like you who love in silence, who hold their home, their family, their marriage together. But inside, they are broken. Men who have stopped dreaming, smiling, looking at themselves in the mirror with pride. Men who have slowly faded away for fear of being seen as weak if they said they were tired. But let me tell you a secret that no one tells you. Recognizing your pain does not make you weak. It makes you human.